Hello everybody, it is Tito Capote, and we're back with another deck profile video. So today, or right now in this video, is going to be an in detail look at the Live Twin deck. A competitive version that I built that I've found to be working. I've done really well with it at locals and online. It works. It's uh, it's an interesting time in the format for this what's it called for this deck, just because DD Crow and Ghost Bell are rampant, and the deck isn't good against those. But this deck can really extend a lot as well, and it can still go into its plays despite all of that most of the time. And it's one of the few decks that can play hand traps as well as board breakers, which board breakers are going to be the main thing this format. Less people are going to go for hand traps and more for board breakers, just because of how explosive Splight and Tier Elements and how little hand traps really do, unless you really know the choke points, which at the beginning of the format people are going to have a hard time figuring out. But for now, let's just get into this. Also, I'm missing a few of the cards because I lent them out to someone, and I haven't gotten them back. But I really want to make this video, and I won't have time further into the week, so I'm doing it now. Anyway, let's start with the main deck. So first of all, we have 3 Live Twin Kill. Now what this card does is each time an opponent monster declares an attack, you gain 500 life points. If this card is normal or special summoned and you control no other monsters, you can special summon 1 Lola monster from your hand or deck. Which is really cool. It special summons out Lola, and the life point gain attack effect doesn't really come up, but it could come up sometimes, and when it does, it's really funny. But all the main cards have like a life point gimmick, which is just really cool. But Live Twin Kill, definitely a 3 of. It's one of your 2 main starters and one of your 2 only starters. So, but the deck is so searchable and so consistent that you don't really need a lot of the actual deck. Most of it is just hand traps and just stuff to stop your opponent. Then 3 Live Twin Lola. What this one does is the same thing, except you lose life points and it summons out a Kill monster. Now, Lila is the better normal summon. If you want to search something out and you don't have an extender in hand, I would search out Lila, because I'll explain later why when we get to the card, that the reason why this is the better normal summon. But for now, just know that this is the better normal summon, and if you're going to search anything out, search out Lila. Of course, that comes with exceptions, but anyway, let's go on to the next card. So we have 1 Live Twin Lola Treat. If you so this is what this card does. If you control a skill monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and only special summon. You can only do that once per turn. And when either player takes damage or from a battle involving an evil twin monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Then target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. It loses attack equal to the battle damage. Which it comes up sometimes, but not really. Not really. It's the worst version of the special summonal evil twins, and the reason why Lola is a better normal summon is because of these 2. So, if you control a Lola monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. The same thing as the other one, and you can only use this once per turn. And if a card is added from the main deck to your opponent's hand by a card effect, except during the damage step, while you control an evil twin monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then draw 1 card. This is why it's a better normal summon, because Lola can summon this out if you don't have anything else, and then go into the thing, and you have this in your graveyard. So if your opponent adds a card or does whatever, you get a draw, which is really good, because that could be another hand trap, that could be an equalizer, that could be whatever in the world, whatever you want it to be. Then we have Evil Twins Kill and Lila. Now this card hardly ever comes up, which is just funny. But when it does, it's like, damn, that's a card. So it cannot be normal summon set, must be special summoned from your hand or graveyard by attributing 2 link monsters. If this card is special summoned, you can activate this effect. Your opponent controls more 3 cards. They must send cards to the graveyard they control until they control 2 cards. You can only activate this effect of Evil Twins Lila once per turn, and you have while you have a Kill monster in the graveyard and you have a Lola monster in your graveyard, this card gains 2,000. So mainly what you're going to do with this is try to get over monsters or try to go for like game or something. But it's mainly in here for the extra deck monster, which sends it to the graveyard as cost to send a card on the field, which I'll get into later. But this is just in there for this. It's just 1 spot in the main deck, and if you draw it, it's not the worst, because you can just discard it or just use it for the effect later. Then we're going to we're going to an engine that I really like to use in the deck, Illusion of Chaos. This card, what it does, basically all you need to know about this card is that it searches out Magician's Souls. That is all you need to know. Nothing else matters. I'm not going to go into the effect because you reveal this and you search Magician's Souls and then shuffle this back into your deck. That is all you need to know about this card. I'm not going into the effect because it doesn't matter. And then two Magician Souls. Now what this card does, it is the important card of the two. You can send up the two and spell traps card from your hand, from your hand field to the graveyard to draw that many cards. If this card is in your hand, you can send one level 6 or higher spellcaster monster, Illusion of Chaos. To activate one of these effects. Special summon this card or send this card to the graveyard and special summon Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl. What you're going to do is you're going to use Illusion of Chaos to search this out or just summon this after you summon your first live twin monster. So you have the 2 on the field and then you summon this. And with this, what you can do is if you have any extra spell cards in your hand that you don't need or that you can't use in the same turn, you can use this to get rid of them and draw cards by getting rid of them. And then this is just an extra link material, so you can go into Lingaribo or you can go into Dagda and then do your stuff and get the Dagda combo, get the whatever. It's just an extra body on board and a way to get advantage when you really need it, especially in late game if you just have a random continuous spell on your field and you just need a draw because you need a starter. You special summon this out and then get rid of that card, draw one, and oh hey, you draw into live twin and then you start your combos. Which I really like this engine in the deck. I think it's really cool and I like Dark Magician a lot, so it's really cool for me. But then next card that we have is One Scythe. This is one of the only decks that can like natively Scythe lock with just Dagda and just easy stuff. I mean, the synchro stuff can do it, but this is just easy. I think it's easier to do it, and then you also have like your normal combo that you can do, which I guess is the synchro stuff too, but that one you'd sort of gear towards this, whereas this one is like just a little extra, right? It's something that you can do if you have enough resources, but it doesn't really change your game plan all that much. It's just added bonus. Now let's get into what this card does. You can set this card from your whatever. So what the effect that matters is when it's destroyed by a card effect, you can summon it back from the graveyard, and when it's special summoned, you can your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for that turn. Now this is really good against Splight because all of their monsters are tiny, and it's really good against Tier Elements because their whole game plan is send monsters to the graveyard to get extra deck monsters. So if you do that against them, they kind of lose. Then the only card that I don't really have right now, besides another one which is like sort of a maybe, I don't know which I'm going to play. 3 DD Crow. This is a 43 card deck. I decided to keep Ash in the deck instead of taking out because it does a lot, especially if you have a compound of hand traps along with an equalizer. It just really helps stop your opponent. And 43 cards in a deck that's this consistent, I don't think is that bad. And like I've never been like you have to play 40 cards because I don't really care. I just want to have fun. I just want to play the cards I want to play. But DD Crow is really good in this format. If I were to play, if it weren't this type of deck where you can just fill a million hand traps and just play the normal core just normally, if I were to play any hand trap, it would be DD Crow. Why is this? Because it stops the Splight recursion. It stops them from getting back totally awesome. It stops them from doing the Ronin Toad and stuff to get into Toad. And for Tier Elements especially, this is basically a negate for any card they send to the graveyard because all of their fusion cards, which have the effect that when they're sent to the graveyard, they can fusion summon using this card as material, and then their summon effects are the mill effects. You can DD Crow any of them, and they can no longer fusion summon because they have to use that card of material, and they can no longer do that. And then DD Crow is just good against a lot of decks. Like I said, if you're going to play any hand trap, play DD Crow, and that's why this is at 3 in the deck. And now for the other side of the equation, well, not other side, it's still basically the same card, but a little bit different. I'm playing 3 Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. Now, if I were going to take out any card in the deck, it would probably be Ash. I wouldn't take out Ghost Bell or I wouldn't take out DD Crow. Because Ghost Bell basically does the same thing as DD Crow, except a little bit more restricted. Because DD Crows just banish anything from the graveyard, right? So it can do other stuff. It can do the trap cards. It can do the whatever. But this card is it. So let me explain what this card does. Oh, let me explain what DD Crow does. Let's do this. Quick effect: you can discard this card to the graveyard and target one card in your opponent's graveyard, then banish that target. It's really simple. But this card, what it does is when your effect is activated, it includes any of the following effects. You can discard this card to negate that activation. Add a card from the graveyard to the hand, deck, or extra deck. Special summon a monster card from the graveyard, or banish a card from the graveyard. Now this hits every single one of the tier element cards. It hits the sprite elf, which is the link monster that brings back from the graveyard. It hits the toad, totally awesome, from recurring any of the frogs or recurring any of the stuff. It's just really good, this format, and I'd play these if you're going to play any 2 hand traps. I'd play that in DD Crow. Now for the one card that I decided to keep in. The main reason that I decided to keep this in is because at my locals, there's a few tier elements player and a few spite players, but there's mostly just other stuff, which is going to change soon as everyone starts getting the cards and everything. But for now, Ash is really good, and if you're planning to play against a lot of rogue decks and a lot of rogue strategies, I'd like to keep Ash in the deck. And honestly, if I were to take anything out of the deck, it would either be Ash or it would be Crossout. But again, it's all up to choice. I prefer just to play the extra 3 cards because I don't need max consistency in my deck when I feel like 43 cards is still good enough, you know. But that's just me. That's just my personal preference. If you disagree, then you can take out any of these cards. I don't really care. It's up to you. But anyway, let's get into what Ash does. So when your card effect activates, same thing as Ghost Spell, add a card from the deck to the hand, special summon from the deck, or send a card from the deck to the graveyard. You can discard this card to negate it, which just really helps. Also, one thing that you need to know for this format is the gigantic sprite, the one that summons from deck and then says you can't summon for the rest of the turn except level 2s. So if you Ash that, then the cannot summon level 2s or higher is negated because the effect never resolved, right? So that's just something that you need to know in case you do want to play Nibiru, or in case you do want to play Gamma. If you Ash that, then you can, or Gamma that, then you can summon level 2s or higher. So you can Nibiru them, you can Gamma them. It just depends on like what you have in your hand, you know. So that's it for the hand traps. Now we're going into the spell cards in the deck. I'm playing 3 secret passwords. So what this does is you can add 1 live twin or evil twin spell trap from your deck to your hand, and if you control Kiss Kill monster and control Lola monster, you can add 1 evil twin monster from your deck to your hand. Now the evil twin monster you're never going to want to search that card out because you always want to keep it in the deck. But the searching live twin spell cards is really big because this basically means that it's just another 3 copies of either of those 2 cards, and either of those 2 cards gets you into your starter. So it's just an extra copy of your starter, which is why the deck is so consistent, because it has like 3 spell cards that search it out, and then the whole all of the monsters search them out. Then what this card, what Live Twin Stunning Stitch, what this card does, 3 of this by the way, when this card is activated, you can add 1 Live Twin monster from your deck to your hand. That's the important part, and every time your opponent normally special summons monster while you get control an evil twin monster, you gain 200 and then they lose 200. Now that part isn't really important. Honestly, it doesn't really matter most of the time unless you're playing for time, which is just really cool. But the main thing is that this is just a Rhoda that can get ghost ogred for some reason, but it's just really cool because it's just, like I said, another copy of your starters. You want to play as many of the spell cards as you can, just because that allows you to play more hand traps, more board breakers, more everything, right? It's just easier that way, I think. Then Live Twin Home, you can discard 1 card, special summon 1 Kiss Kill monster or 1 little monster from your deck. Also, for the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except evil twin monsters. Now, this doesn't end up mattering most of the time because most of the time what you're summoning is the evil Trouble Sunny. But if you do want to go into Dagda and have this card in your hand, you have to do it after you go into Dagda, not before. If you want to do any of this stuff, or if you want to do any of the Xyz plays, you have to do that before, or if this is your only option, then you can only go into the evil twins, which is fine most of the time. Most of the time, this is what you're going to use to trigger the Dagda to get the Scythe on the field. It's just if you have everything, then you have everything, right? Now, 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. Now, this is where it comes in, where instead of playing hand traps like I don't know, anything, you play Dark Ruler or Droplets or whatever. Any board breakers, like anything that just helps you not die and like be able to play, because the boards that Sprite and tier elements can put up may not look too impressive, but because all of their cards trigger during your turn and can summon during your turn and then do stuff during your turn and negate and go into negates, go into stuff, having Dark Ruler and having Droplet to be able to stop that or be able to sort of mediate the damage that it does is really important, especially because they can't respond with monster effects, right? Negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls until the end of the turn. Also, for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, your opponent takes no damage, which is like fine, honestly. But it's just, it really helps you just stay in the game, and where in a deck like this where just one hand trap can really hose you, it's really important to do that. Then I'm playing 2 Droplet and 1 Change of Heart instead of 3 Droplet. I'm playing, now most of you are saying, but Droplet's insane in this deck. And yes, I used to play it at 3 Droplet, but then after I tested a bunch online and again at locals, I found that Change of Heart is actually comes up a lot more, even being at 1, than Forbidden Droplet does. And if you see them both, it's even better, because then in this format, there's going to be a lot of Xyz monsters on the field, right? There's going to be a lot, because of Sprite, because of people being scared of tier elements and making Abyss Dweller just willy-nilly, because there's just cards like Xyz monsters that are just generally good. Tier Elements plays Xyz monsters, Sprite plays Xyz monsters. A lot of the rogue decks play Xyz monsters. And one of the cool things you can do with Change of Heart is steal that Xyz monster, attack with it, and overlay Zeus on it, which is just really cool and a really good feeling. So I just, when you can do that, and I found that that comes up a lot more than having the 3rd Droplet. And if you don't open Droplet, you don't open Droplet. You have the Dark Ruler, you have like a million hand traps in your hand usually. So yeah, it's just like, I'd rather play the Change of Heart in the main deck than having the 3rd Forbidden Droplet. Then we're playing 1 Called by the Grave. I forgot to say what all of them do. So what the Droplet does is send any number of cards from your hand or field to the graveyard. Choose that many effect monsters your opponent controls. Till the end of this turn, their attack is halved. Also, their effects are negated, and your opponent can't respond with the same type you send as cost. So if you spend a spell, they can't use spells. If you send a monster, they can't use monsters. So this is why this and Dark Ruler No More is so good. Now, Change of Heart, target 1 monster your opponent controls, taking control of it during the until the end phase. Now, this can be negated, but again, it baits out a negate. It's something that you use after you use Droplet, after you use Dark Ruler, after you get everything done, because then that way you still have something to do. You still have a way to clear their board, and it's just a really good card. I found it come in clutch a lot, like a lot. Then Called by the Grave, we play 1 of this because it's at 1, or we would play more. Target 1 card, a monster in your opponent's graveyard, banish it, and if you do until the end of this turn, its effects are negated, as well as the activated effects of the field of monsters with the same original name. It's really good. It protects you from everything, and it stops a lot of cards like Tier Element. If you go first, you can just set it and it stops their turn. Not stops their turn, but it does a lot. Then this is another card that I'm questioning playing in the deck. The reason why I'm playing... well, let me read what it does first. Declare 1 card name, banish that declared card from your main deck. If you do, negates its effects, as well as the activated effects and effect of the field of a card with the same original name for the rest of the turn. And you can only activate 1 per turn. So, the reason why I'm playing this is because DD Crow and Bell completely hose this deck, and it sucks when they're played in the main so readily, like they're going to be this format. If people are going to play a hand trap, it's going to be Crow, it's going to be Bell, and seeing like having Crossout designated for that is just really good. But also, the card that I would switch in instead of this or instead of Ash if I did play is Ultimate Slayer. Now, this card, when your opponent cannot activate monster effects in response to this card's activation, send 1 monster from your extra deck to the graveyard and then target 1 monster your opponent controls, the same card type, shuffle it into the deck. Now, this card is just really good, especially since you're playing a lot of Links, a lot of Xyz. Now, you can play a Fusion monster in your extra deck if you want, just to, like, make it so it works more, but I thought that Crossout Designator does more of the time, because you can send whatever, you can send this, and it's really good. I like Crossout Designator a lot, especially this format where DD Crow and Ghost Bell are popular. Now let's go into the extra deck. Now this if you guys have watched my other my other deck profile on this deck, you'll see it hasn't changed much, but I still think this is the best extra deck for the format. Unless you play Peril Exceed, then I would switch out something like the what's it called, like the Linkaribo for an Abyss Dweller, but I'm not playing Peril Exceed because I don't want to. But let's go into the cards. So first, we're playing 3 Evil Twin Kiss-a-Kill. One of her is lonely. She's just alone, and I'm too poor to make her less lonely. But anyway, if this card is special summoned and you control a little monster, you can draw 1 card. During the main phase, if you do not control a little monster, you can quick effect special summon a little monster from your graveyard. Also, you can activate a special summon monster from the extra deck for the rest of his turn, except Fiend monsters, which is like a good clause to put on it. But the reason you play 3 of this is because this card gets you the pop, because this card gets you the Lola, and like, you want to, if you're, this is going to be your starter most of the time going first. Going second, it depends what you want really and what you have in your hand, but this is what you're going to start off with link wise, but it's just good for getting you advantage and good for like starting off your plays. So let's go on to the next one. Here we're playing 2 Evil Twin Lola. Now, why are you playing 3 of the Evil Twin Lola, you ask? It's because I don't want to, because it's bad. You're never going... If you're going into the 3rd Lila, just hard making the 3rd Lila just to get a Kiss-a-Kill back and, like, do stuff, you're already in a bad place. You've probably already used most of the resources, and you're probably going to lose. Because this deck, once it doesn't have any extra deck monsters, and, like, you can't do anything. Your main deck sucks. They're all tiny, they're all hand traps. But, you only play 2 of this because you don't really realistically need the 3rd one in most games. Like, I'd say 90% of the games you're never going to use the 3rd copy of this if you do have it in your deck. And, yeah, no, just that. You're always going to recycle the ones from the graveyard, right? So, you're always going to, most of the time going to have access to the 2nd one if you need it, but you're never going to need the 3rd one. Now, what does this do? If this card is special summoned while you control a Kiss-a-Kill monster, you can target 1 card in the field, destroy it. During the main phase, if you do not control a Kiss-a-Kill monster, quick effect, you can special summon a Kiss-a-Kill monster from the graveyard. Also, you cannot special summon fiends from the extra. You can only special summon fiends from the extra deck. Now, these 2 form a really good loop because with Droplet and with whatever, you can bring one back, send the other one for link material for whatever, and then bring it back with the other one, which usually you get both effects in one turn because of their own effects, but also because of this card. So this card is Evil Twin Troubles Sunny. Now what this card does is quick effect, you can triple this card to summon up to 1 Kiss-a-Kill monster and up to 1 Lola monster from your graveyard. Then you can banish this card from your graveyard and send 1 Evil Twin monster from your hand, deck, or face up on the field to the graveyard to send 1 card on the field to the graveyard. And this needs 2 monsters, including an Evil Twin monster. Now the reason why this is so good is because it makes it so you can proc both effects in one turn, right? And it makes it so you get your twins back, and it makes it so that, what's it called? You can Scythe Lock, you can do whatever, you can do all the stuff that you want to do whenever you want, as opposed to just in the main phase, right? Because if they're doing something and you, like, you haven't activated the effect and you dodged whatever, and, like, it's just battle phase, you know, and you can use it then. But also it's just a really big monster, and you can go into damage by switching out during the damage step and then switching back in during main phase 2, which is really cool. Then we're playing 1 Nightmare Unicorn. Nightmare Unicorn, when you summon, you can discard 1 card and shuffle back monsters and shuffle back 1 card on the field by targeting it. And then if it's co-linked, you can draw 1 card for every card co-linked. You can actually summon this linked to one of the Evil Twin monsters and then draw a card off the co-link, which is really cool because they each point to the side. So if you have one on either side, then you can just summon there and then it draws a card, which comes up quite a bit, actually. And this is just a card that I like to use to extend and clear their board at the same time. Then we have 1 Linkaribo. 1 Linkaribo I really like in this deck because it's just like, the Tearment traps it's really funny because this doesn't specify on the field. So if they activate a trap card from the graveyard, you can tribute this to negate it, which, again, I'll go into its effect right now. When your opponent activates a trap card, quick effect, you can tribute this card, negate that effect, and if you do, banish it. So they can't reuse it, they can't, like, recycle it or do whatever, which is really cool. But Yeah, Lingeribo. Pretty cool card. And you can go into it if you have a Magician's Souls on the field, if you have an extra one of the little summons, or if you have no way of making Dagda, or if it's turn 2, just to insulate yourself, you know? Then we have one Dagda. This, when a card is activated on the field, you set an artifact from the deck. That's going to be Scythe, and that's how you get the Scythe lock most of the time. Unless you hard draw it, then it's crazy. Then we're playing one Access Code Talker. So what this card does is it needs 2 or more effect monsters. And if your opponent activates a card for X in response to this card's effect activation, if this card is link summoned, or cannot respond to this card's activations. Then, if this card is link summoned, you can target one link monster that was used as link material, and it gains attack equal to that monster's link rating times 1,000. And you can banish one link monster in your field or graveyard to destroy one card your opponent controls. But also for the rest of the turn, you cannot banish monsters with the same attributes to activate the effect of Access Code Talker. So it's a really good card. It's a way to get into game. And then we're playing the Zeus package. So like I said, Sky Cavalry Centuria, basically you can make it so it's not destroyed by battle. You stack this on top, and then you make Zeus. But it does come up where you have Change of Heart, and then you attack with the thing, put a Downward Magician on it, or put whatever if you need to, and then use Zeus, which is just really cool. It really works out when that happens. It feels really good. But let's go into what Zeus does. Once per turn, if an easy monster battled this turn, you can also Xyz summon Divine Arsenal Zeus Sky Thunder by placing one Xyz monster you control as transfer material of this card. You can detach 2 materials from this card, send all the cards from the field to the graveyard. Once per turn, if another card you control is destroyed by battle or opponent's card effect, you can attach 1 card from your hand, deck, or extra deck to this card as material, which is really cool. Yeah, so that's going to be it for the deck profile. Now, one thing I will say is that if you are planning to play Live Twin, probably the best way to play Live Twin right now, like, it's not really Live Twin, I don't think, which is the reason I'm not playing it, is actually to play the Sprite variant, Sprite variant, whatever it's called. Again, the reason I don't want to play that is because I like playing Live Twins, and the Sprite variant is literally just is just Sprite, but with extra little steps, you know? It's just a way of splashing the evil twins into the Sprite strategy, which I prefer to just play Live Twins, you know. So this is the pure version deck that I like to play, and that works pretty well. Yeah, that's all I have to say. So if you guys liked the video, please leave a like, maybe subscribe, and if you want, ring notification bell for more videos. I'll see you guys later. I hope you have a great day.